Come, let us explore how forcing thoughts away makes meditation harder. This lesson will be taught from a selection drawn from vast expanse of the diamond-like mind. Known in Tibet as Dorje Sempa Namka Che. Composed by Prahe Vajra approximately 14 centuries ago, translated from the Tibetan by Chokyal Namkai Norbu, translated from the Italian by Adriano Clemente, adapted and amplified by yours truly. So, in between 4 repetitions of our relaxing recitation of this 13th passage, I will attend to the opening question. Together. Quoting the expression, gateway to the subtle, they seek the path by isolating the mind, maintaining isolation in a secluded place. If we examine well, this is the folly of conceptual meditation. What then is the folly of conceptual meditation? There's 2 ways of looking at this, literally and figuratively. Let's start with literally, and for that I'm going to need a visual aid, so please bear with me. Here we go. 1, 2, 3, 4, copy. One, 2, 3, 4, and 5, and paste. Okay, so let's review what is meant by literally by conceptual meditation. We can traverse the path of yang or the path of yin. We can traverse the path of yang's religious patriarchy, dun dun dun, or yin's yin's spiritual matriarchy. Ah, that's supposed to be angelic choir. So, well, what's the problem with Yang's religious patriarchy? It gives birth to such hits as making its adherents even more rigid, fearful, superstitious, controlling, elitist, cryptic, competitive, and cruel. Let's get down to the nitty-gritty. When we practice conceptual meditation, we are acquiescing to the compulsion to indulge our controlling tendencies. We rely upon our medial prefrontal cortex to actively focus or concentrate. We rely upon our dorsolateral prefrontal cortex to actively contemplate or analyze. Doing so for a protracted period, i.e. meditation, 45 minutes or whatnot, will exhaust our prefrontal cortex. The problem with that is that it triggers our amygdala. Our amygdala is the seat of anxiety and aggression. Pretty much the opposite of peace and love. So if you hate peace and love, the amygdala is just your friend. Now, amygdala is great in a life or death situation where you have to defend a child to the death. Awesome. It is great as an occasional break in place of a break glass in case of emergency tool. But if it's our default mode, it's going to give us a very superficial, shallow, meaningless life. So how do we relegate this amygdala from its role of boss to its role of mere tool, just one of many tools? Simple. Every time we inhale, thanks to our sympathetic nervous system ensconced within the middle third of our spinal cord, we have evolved to notice in a special way. We have evolved to notice vulnerably, passively, viscerally, randomly, and fleetingly. Random here is being used as a synonym of spontaneous. What do we do then with that which we notice? Well, we meditate. You see, every time we exhale, thanks to our parasympathetic nervous system, divided between the lower third as well as the upper third of that same spinal cord, we are wired for both physical relaxation as well as mental release. So if conceptual meditation is indulging our controlling tendencies to focus and analyze at the peril of exciting or triggering our amygdala, then non-conceptual meditation is simply noticing and relaxing in harmony with our sympathetic and parasympathetic nervous system, which will calm our amygdala and stimulate our anterior cingulate gyrus, which functions as the hub of our mirror neurons, the seat of empathy, the root of compassion and love. Pretty cool deal. So that is what we mean by literal conceptual meditation. But I inferred there would be a figurative conceptual meditation. And here it is. Duality versus non-duality. You see, every time we breathe in, we are wired to notice dualities. It's part of our survival mechanism. It's useful. But every time we exhale and relax, it could feel like those dualities we noticed during our previous inhalation were now melting into the simplicity of sharing the same fleeting taste, of being less tantalizing, less permanent, less defining, less graspable. And so the very act of treating thoughts as an enemy is to forsake the non-duality between both the presence and the absence of thoughts, between the harmfulness and the helpfulness of thoughts. How could thoughts, even negative thoughts, be helpful? Easy. Anything that captures our attention as we inhale sets us up to release as we exhale, thus turning the wheels and cranks and gears of our metaphoric enlightenment machine. Together, let us recite the second repetition. Pointing the expression, gateway to the subtle, they seek the path by isolating the mind, maintaining isolation in a secluded place. If we examine well, this is the folly of conceptual meditation. Whether seeking to externally isolate the body from other beings, or just internally isolating the mind from sights, sounds, sensations, flavors, scents, and the like, including the full spectrum of human emotions, intentions, thoughts, memories, and imaginings. This is the opposite of mindfulness. How important is mindfulness? The Buddha taught it was an integral part of his eightfold path, and in terms of the enlightenment factors, described mindfulness as the first one. No mindfulness, no meditation, no enlightenment, no peace. So isolating the mind from its mechanisms of perceptions is counterproductive. And now our third repetition. Quoting the expression, gateway to the subtle, they seek the path by isolating the mind, maintaining isolation in a secluded place. If we examine well, this is the folly of conceptual meditation. One moment, I gotta wet this whistle. Any good endocrinologist or neurologist or neuroscientist will remind us that within the region described by some as our underbrain, we have not one but two reward circuits. The first reward circuit is dopamine oriented, and it rewards anything that serves the survival of our species with short-term pleasure. For instance, copulating when we're horny, um, drinking when we're thirsty, eating when we're hungry, sleeping or resting when we're weary, finding warmth when we're cold, finding shade when we're hot. These things are necessary to push our genes forward, and that's of such priority that it has its own unique reward system. How important is that? Individuals born without that reward system don't typically live long enough to pass their genes on to the next generation. So evolution, as everybody knows, natural selection is simply whether or not a trait is passed on to the next generation. If it isn't passed on, it perishes. So, there is a second reward system. It is oxytocin oriented. It rewards with the long-term fulfillment and satisfaction that comes from cooperation. Humans, as a species, are not the strongest nor the fleetest. We do not have sharp claws or long fangs, but we have clever brains and an ability to cooperate. Very important. So we have an entire reward system designed to reward our cooperation. If we are in a circumstance, especially one that we did not choose, an involuntary circumstance where we are isolated from those who we can cooperate with, that is going to mess up our central nervous system. It is going to be painful. That's a survival mechanism. If not cooperating with people is painful, then we are driven by our own brains to cooperate with people, which contributes to the likelihood of the survival. If not us as individuals, then us as a species. Welcome to the wild world of biology. It has been said by a notable biologist that all the mysteries of the human body only make sense within the context of evolution. Together as a team, let us relaxingly recite the final repetition of this passage. Cloning the expression, gateway to the subtle, they seek the path by isolating the mind, gotta remember that last consonant, maintaining isolation in a secluded place. If we examine well, this is the folly of conceptual meditation. Having completed our opening lesson, it's time for us to shift gears. It is Qui-Gon Jinn Tuesday morning. Come, let us meditate like a Jedi after approximately 30 seconds of housekeeping. This is the Dzogchen Lama Jigme Gyatso of the Buddha Joy Meditation School. For more than 30 years, I have harnessed my autistic special interests and my ADHD hyperfocus to spend about 8 hours a day, almost every day, studying, practicing, mastering, and reverse engineering the teachings and techniques of each school of meditation so that I can become your personal nerdy, neurodivergent guide to Nirvana. Welcome, my friends, to Meditate Like a Jedi, which is made possible due to the generosity of viewers just like you. We now turn our attention to the very latest iteration of very easy meditation practice text, or sadhana, if you're nasty. Let us set intention by chanting the essence of the path. Whatever comes, may all beings notice, relax, and flow. Oopsie, let's try this again. Whatever comes, may all beings notice, relax, and flow. Whatever stays, may all beings notice, relax, and flow. Whatever goes, may all beings notice, relax, and flow. So we've already covered these opening instructions during the opening lesson. So I'll just say this. Having explored the perils of competing against our sympathetic and parasympathetic nervous systems, how can we ensure what is the most sustainable way that we can cooperate with our sympathetic and parasympathetic nervous systems? Easy. During each inhalation, we can silently and mentally recite, let me rephrase this. Every time we notice air entering our nostrils, we can silently and mentally recite the demonstrative pronoun this, and we can silently and mentally recite the one-syllable verb ease each time we notice air leaving our nostrils. Let's take a quick moment to discuss sitting. We discussed patriarchy. Patriarchy is prone to elitism. One of the greatest lies of elitism is that we must master the full lotus position. However, anthropologists and archaeologists insist that the most ancient Buddhist statuary does not depict the Gautama, the Buddha, sitting in the full lotus posture, but simply the quarter lotus posture, wherein one leg is just resting upon the other, and it kind of like two pieces of bread forming a sandwich. To assume this posture, it's important to remember anatomy. Our knees are only hinge joints, so we must not turn out from our knees. Our hips are ball joints, ideal for turning out. We do not want to force this posture. So if that means the best we can do is something that doesn't look terribly pretty at all, we simply reconcile ourselves to temporary imperfection, understanding that if we play with this posture for as little as 5 minutes every 12 hours, then within a week or two, there's a very high probability our joints will remember the flexibility of youth. Bearing this in mind, together as a team, let us practice right now. Whew. Good morning and welcome to the second quarter of our group practice. Every time we feel air enter our nostrils, thanks to our sympathetic nervous system, we are wired to vulnerably, passively, viscerally, randomly, fleetingly notice mind's antics of perception. You know, sights, sounds, sensations, flavors, scents, and the like, including the full spectrum of human emotions, intentions, cognitions, recollections, and imaginings. What do we do with that which we notice? Well, we meditate. You see, every time we exhale, thanks to our parasympathetic nervous system, we're wired for both physical relaxation as well as mental release. Understanding the importance of both our sympathetic as well as parasympathetic nervous systems, how can we most easily cooperate with them? Simple. Each time we feel air enter our nostrils, we could silently and mentally recite the demonstrative pronoun this, and we could silently and mentally recite the one-syllable verb ease each time we feel air exit our nostrils. Let's take a moment to consider the 7-point posture of Varochana. During the last explanation, I explored how to sit in the quarter lotus posture. Now let us explore the spine. Every time we inhale, we are wired to generate a vertical traction between our tuchus and the back of our head. This causes our chin to drop subtly, pointing our face at a place on the ground approximately 1 or 2 meters in front of us. Doing so helps to slide our scapula, our shoulder blades open, which allows the acupuncture meridians that flow through and around that area to really open up. Bearing all this in mind, together let's practice right now. However, I would be remiss if I did not remind you that the moment you have a specific question about Buddhist philosophy or meditation, simply type your question in great detail in the chat window. Welcome to the third quarter of this morning's group meditation. Let us continue with a brief synopsis of the mechanics of mindfulness and meditation. Every time we inhale, thanks to our sympathetic nervous system, we are wired to vulnerably, passively, viscerally, randomly, and fleetingly notice whatever comes up. Whether that which we notice is external or internal or physical or mental or pleasurable or painful or interesting or boring or glorious or grotesque. What do we do with that which we noticed? Simple. We meditate. You see, every time we exhale, thanks to our parasympathetic nervous system, we are already wired for both physical relaxation as well as mental release. Oopsie. Given the importance of both our sympathetic as well as parasympathetic nervous systems, what's the most efficient way, the easiest way, the most effective way for us to cooperate with them? Simple. Every time we feel breath enter our nostrils, we could silently and mentally recite the demonstrative pronoun this. Every time we feel breath exit our nostrils, we could silently and mentally recite the one-syllable verb is. Now, the moment you have a specific question about Buddhist philosophy or meditation, do not hesitate to type your question in great detail in the chat window. I'll check for questions after approximately 5 to 15 minutes. Together as a team, let us practice right now. We come now to the final quarter of this morning's practice. The image of the Kamakura Buddha statue helps us to remember that during each inhalation we are wired to experience a vertical traction between our tuchus and the back of our head. This subtle dropping of our chin helps our shoulder blades to open, which in turn frees up our acupuncture meridians. Each time we relax into our exhalation, whatever dualities, such as scorn or praise we might have noticed during our previous inhalation, could feel as if they were melting into the simplicity of just the interpersonal. The most efficient way for us to cooperate with our mindful sympathetic nervous system and our meditative parasympathetic nervous system is for us to silently and mentally recite the demonstrative pronoun this each time we feel our breath enter our nostrils, and for us to silently and mentally recite the one-syllable verb ease each time we feel our breath exit our nostrils. Together, let us practice right now. You have taken your first step into a much larger world. If you feel that I have earned it, you could give this live stream a thumbs up. You could even help support this channel. In approximately 10 hours, I would very much like to return to lead today's evening meditation class and group practice. And if you are as geeky as me, may the Force be with you always.